I still remember the exact moment when my entire world shifted. My sister Audrey threw boiling tea at my 12-year-old daughter Lily during a family gathering after a trivial argument about a borrowed sweater. As Lily screamed in agony with first-degree burns forming on her arm, my parents shockingly defended Audrey. Mom cruelly dismissed it, saying your brat deserved it, while Dad laughed it off with it's not like she's dead. In that horrifying moment, as my daughter suffered and my family betrayed us both, I made a silent vow that would change our family forever. Growing up, I always knew my place in the family hierarchy. As the older sister, I was expected to be responsible, mature, and accommodating. Audrey, 4 years younger, operated under a completely different set of rules. While I got grounded for coming home 10 minutes after curfew, Audrey could stroll in hours late, without consequences. My parents would smile indulgently and say, "You know how passionate she is, Blaine. She gets caught up in the moment." That word, passionate. A pretty mask they placed over her temper tantrums, her cruelty, her complete disregard for others. By 16, I had become an expert at walking on eggshells around her, anticipating her moods, and adjusting my behavior accordingly. If Audrey was having a bad day, the entire household revolved around not setting her off. One incident stands out vividly in my memory. I was 17, preparing for prom by carefully applying makeup at the bathroom vanity. Audrey, then 13, wanted the bathroom to herself. When I politely asked for 15 more minutes, she grabbed my carefully saved expensive foundation and poured it down the drain. As I watched months of babysitting money literally go down the sink, I looked to my mom standing in the doorway. "Mom, did you see what she just did?" Mom sighed. "Why do you have to antagonize her, Blaine? You know she's sensitive." That night, I went to prom with drugstore makeup hastily purchased by my dad, who slipped me $20 with a whispered, "Keep the peace." The message was clear. Audrey's feelings mattered more than anything I lost. I escaped that dynamic when I left for college, choosing a school 3 states away. There, I met Jack during sophomore year literature class. He was everything my family wasn't: steady, fair, and direct. We married 2 years after graduation, and welcomed Lily into the world when I was 22. Our life in Hampton Falls, New Hampshire was everything I had dreamed of. A charming colonial on a tree-lined street, Jack's successful architectural firm, my thriving career as a high school English teacher. Most importantly, a home where raised voices were rare and apologies were genuine. We visited my parents in Burlington for holidays and the occasional long weekend, just enough to maintain family ties without dragging Lily into the toxic dynamic I grew up with. Audrey's life followed a predictable pattern of chaos dropping out of college, cycling through jobs, and a string of tumultuous relationships that invariably ended with her moving back to our parents' house. Each time, Mom and Dad financially rescued her. New car after she totaled hers driving angry. Rent paid after she spent her money on designer clothes. Credit card debts mysteriously vanished. I knew they helped her far more than they ever helped me, but I had long since stopped keeping score. Jack and I had built our life without their assistance, and I took pride in that. The trouble really started 6 months ago, when Audrey's latest relationship imploded. This time, instead of moving back with our parents, she took an apartment just 10 minutes from my house. Suddenly, she was insinuating herself into our lives, showing up uninvited for dinner, monopolizing conversations with dramatic stories, and worst of all, trying to establish herself as Lily's cool aunt. Then came the jewelry incident. I returned from a teacher's conference to find my pearl earrings anniversary gift from Jack missing from my jewelry box. When I texted Audrey directly, she responded, "Just borrowing them for a date, chill out." When I complained to my mother during our weekly call, she laughed. "Oh, Blaine, you were always so possessive of your things. Remember how you used to label your cereal boxes in college? It's just sisters sharing. We're not teenagers sharing a bathroom anymore, Mom. Those pearls cost $4,000. "Well, da, Mom said, with an edge in her voice. "Aren't we fancy now? Your sister doesn't have the advantages you've had." The advantages. As if marrying a kind man and working steadily for 12 years were lucky accidents rather than choices. But I swallowed my retort and changed the subject. When the earrings returned with one post missing, I silently replaced it and locked the jewelry box in my office safe. Despite these tensions, when Dad's 65th birthday approached, I reluctantly agreed to host a family dinner at our house. Jack questioned my decision. "Are you sure you want Audrey here after the earring thing?" he asked, chopping vegetables while I marinated steaks. "It's easier to host than to drive to Burlington," I replied, not meeting his eyes. "Besides, Lily deserves to know her grandparents, and this is what families do." Jack set down his knife. "Your family, Blaine. Not all families. My mom would never have let my brother get away with half of what Audrey does." I didn't answer. What could I say? That despite everything, some childish part of me still hoped for their approval? That I was still trying to be the good daughter who keeps the peace? The evening before the dinner, I overheard Lily on the phone with her friend. "No, I can't sleep over Saturday. My crazy aunt is coming." A pause. "My mom thinks I don't know, but Aunt Audrey was, in actual jail once, and she's stolen stuff from us." I stepped into her bedroom doorway. "Lily, what are you talking about? Your aunt has never been to jail." Lily looked startled, then defensive. "That's what she told me last time she was here. She said you don't talk about it because you're embarrassed about your family." My blood ran cold. "When did she tell you this?" "When you were getting groceries, and she was helping me with my history project. She showed me pictures on her phone of the tattoo she got in there." I felt sick. Audrey was deliberately undermining my relationship with my daughter, planting lies that made me look dishonest. The revelation hit me like a physical blow. This wasn't just annoying sister behavior. This was calculated harm. The family dinner started exactly as tense as I'd feared. Dad dominated conversation with opinions about politics while Mom fussed over Audrey, asking repeatedly if the chicken was seasoned to her liking. Jack maintained a polite facade, though I could feel his frustration in the tight grip he kept on my hand under the table. Lily, normally bubbly and talkative, sat quietly picking at her food. She had been uncharacteristically reserved all day, and I wondered what other poisonous family secrets Audrey had shared with her. "So, Lily," Audrey said during a lull in conversation, "how's 7th grade treating you? Any cute boys yet?" Lily shrugged. "It's fine." "Just fine? Come on, give your cool aunt something. What about that sweater I saw on your Instagram? The cream cashmere one? You looked so grown up." "Oh." Lily brightened slightly. "I love that sweater. It's super soft." "Wait." Audrey's voice shifted, a dangerous edge I recognized from childhood entering her tone. "Is that my sweater? The Vince one with the boat neck?" Lily looked confused. "I don't think so. You gave it to me for my birthday, remember? You said it was too small for you." "I most certainly did not." Audrey's face flushed. "That's a $400 sweater. I would never give it to a kid who wouldn't appreciate it." Mom immediately jumped in. "Audrey, sweetie, maybe you forgot." "I didn't forget giving away a $400 sweater," Audrey snapped. "She took it from my overnight bag last time I was here." I intervened, keeping my voice level. "Audrey, you specifically told me you were giving Lily that sweater because it shrunk in the wash. We thanked you for it. Are you calling me a liar?" Audrey stood suddenly, her chair scraping loudly against the hardwood floor. "Just because you're jealous that I can afford nice things without being a boring suburban robot?" "Audrey, please," I said, aware of Lily's wide eyes. "Let's not do this now. We're celebrating Dad's birthday." "Oh, of course," Audrey laughed bitterly. "St. Blaine, always the peacemaker, always the responsible one. Makes you feel superior, doesn't it?" "That's enough," Jack said firmly. "You're being disrespectful in our home." "Your home?" "This was Blaine's inheritance. She just lets you think you're in charge." Another lie. "We had saved for years for the down payment on this house." "Audrey, please sit down," Mom pleaded. "Not until she admits she taught her little thief to steal my things," Audrey hissed. Lily's eyes filled with tears. "I didn't steal anything. You gave it to me. Everything happened so quickly then." Audrey grabbed her mug of tea still steaming from the electric kettle and flung the contents directly at Lily. My daughter's scream pierced the air, as the boiling liquid splashed across her forearm and chest. I lunged forward, knocking over my chair as I rushed to Lily. Her skin was already turning an angry red where the tea had soaked through her thin shirt. "Jack, get cold water and towels," I shouted, trying to pull the hot fabric away from Lily's skin. As Jack sprinted to the kitchen, I looked at my parents in shock. "Call 911. Instead of moving, my mother crossed her arms. "Don't be so dramatic, Blaine. It's just hot tea." "Are you serious right now? She's burned." "Your brat deserved it," Mom said coldly. "She shouldn't have taken things that don't belong to her." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She's 12 years old. And she didn't take anything. My father chuckled. Actually chuckled and said, "It's not like she's dead. Kids get hurt all the time." Jack returned with wet towels, his face tight with fury. "Get out," he said to my family. "All of you. Now." As I pressed the cold compress against Lily's arm, Audrey stood with her arms crossed. "I want my sweater back." "Get out," Jack roared, causing even my father to flinch. They left without another word, no apology, no concern for Lily, nothing. Jack helped me get Lily into the car, and we drove straight to the emergency room. The doctor confirmed first-degree burns on her arm and a small second-degree burn on her chest. As he applied burn cream and dressed the wounds, he asked casually how the accident happened. "My sister threw boiling tea at her during an argument," I said, my voice hollow. The doctor's hands paused momentarily before continuing his work. "I see. And was this intentional?" "Yes," I admitted, shame washing over me. "It was." He nodded, making a note in the chart. "I understand this is difficult, but I need to ask, is your daughter safe at home?" The implication stunned me. "Of course she is. This wasn't This wasn't us. It was my sister. We brought her straight here." Jack, who had been silently holding Lily's hand, spoke up. "Doctor, my wife and I would never hurt our daughter. This happened during a family dinner, when her aunt lost her temper." The doctor nodded again. "I believe you. I'm required to ask these questions. Child Protective Services may follow up." While Lily was having her bandages applied, a hospital social worker approached me in the hallway with a pamphlet. "Mrs. Reynolds? I thought this might be helpful." I glanced down at the glossy paper. "Family violence. Breaking the cycle." "This isn't domestic violence," I started to say, then stopped myself. "Wasn't it, though? My sister had deliberately hurt my child. My parents had defended the attacker, not the victim." "Thank you," I said instead, tucking the pamphlet into my purse. The social worker handed me a business card. "There are resources available. Legal options, too. What happened wasn't just family drama. It was assault on a minor." Her words hit me like a thunderbolt. This wasn't just another episode in the long saga of Audrey's bad behavior and my parents' enabling. It was potentially criminal. My family wasn't just dysfunctional. They were dangerous. Jack and I stayed up most of the night debating what to do. Lily slept fitfully, whimpering when she rolled onto her burned arm. "We should press charges," Jack said, pacing our bedroom. "If some stranger threw boiling water at Lily, we wouldn't hesitate." "It's not that simple," I replied, though part of me knew he was right. "They're still my family." "Family doesn't do this, Blaine," Jack's voice broke. "You've been making excuses for them your entire life. When does it stop?" The next morning, after getting Lily settled with painkillers and her favorite movies, I drove to my parents' house where I knew Audrey would be. I brought the hospital paperwork documenting Lily's injuries and photographs of the burns. They were having breakfast when I arrived, the three of them looking for all the world like nothing had happened. "Well, look who's here," my father said, not getting up. "Come to apologize for your husband's behavior?" I placed the medical documents on the table. "I came to show you what Audrey did to Lily. First-degree burns on 15% of her body. A second-degree burn here." I pointed to the chest area on the diagram. "The doctor says she'll likely have a small scar." Audrey barely glanced at the papers. "Don't be so dramatic. It was just warm tea." "Warm tea doesn't cause second-degree burns, Audrey. You threw boiling liquid at a child. Do you understand that's assault? That I could press charges?" my mother gasped. You wouldn't dare. Over a little accident? It wasn't an accident, I said firmly. Audrey deliberately threw it at her. You both saw it and did nothing. Worse than nothing, you blamed Lily. She took my sweater, Audrey insisted. A sweater you gave her. Even if she had stolen it, which she didn't, how does that justify physically harming her? My father stood up, his imposing height still intimidating after all these years. Now you listen here. This family has always handled things internally. We don't need doctors and police and who knows who else involved in private matters. A child was hurt, I said, my voice shaking. My child. And she'll heal, Mom said dismissively. Kids are resilient. You're making a mountain out of a molehill. I looked at Audrey. I want you to apologize to Lily. A real apology, not some half-hearted excuse. Audrey's eyes filled with tears. I didn't mean to hurt her that badly. I was just so angry. She provoked me. She's 12. She knows exactly how to push my buttons, Audrey sobbed. Just like you always have. You both think you're so perfect. I watched in disbelief as my mother immediately moved to comfort Audrey, stroking her hair as she cried. See what you've done? Mom accused. Your sister is sensitive. She feels things deeply. What about what Lily feels? The pain she's in right now? Children bounce back, Dad said with a wave of his hand. Stop being so self-righteous. Your sister made a mistake. A mistake she's not even sorry for, I pointed out. None of you are. Dad's expression hardened. If you're going to be difficult about this, maybe we need to reevaluate some things. What things? Financial things, he said pointedly. Your trust fund, for one. The business shares in your name. I stared at him. Are you threatening to cut me off if I don't let Audrey get away with hurting my daughter? I'm saying family loyalty goes both ways, he replied coldly. Something in me snapped. What loyalty? When have any of you been loyal to me? I left without waiting for an answer, hands shaking so badly I could barely drive. At home, I went straight to my office and pulled out the file containing information about the trust fund my grandfather had established for me. I'd never paid much attention to it. The terms stated I couldn't access it until I was 40, and the quarterly statements showed modest growth. But now, driven by my father's threat, I examined it more closely. According to the statement, my trust held approximately $80,000. Not insignificant, but hardly life-changing. Out of curiosity, I searched my email for any documents related to Audrey's trust, which I assumed would be similar. What I found stunned me. Copied on an email my father had accidentally sent to my business address rather than my personal one, was information about Audrey's trust fund valued at over $1 million. I sat back, feeling like I'd been punched. My entire life, I'd believed our parents treated us differently because of our personalities, because Audrey was passionate and needed more support. I never imagined the disparity would be so explicitly financial. Further digging revealed the truth. My grandfather had established equal trusts. Over the years, my parents had systematically diverted funds from mine to Audrey's, apparently believing I would never notice or complain. The revelation was devastating but clarifying. This wasn't about Audrey's temperament or my parents' blind spots. This was deliberate favoritism, quantified in dollars and cents. And now they were using my diminished trust fund to threaten me into silence about Lily's assault. The weeks following the tea incident were some of the hardest of my life. Lily's physical wounds began healing, but the psychological impact ran deeper than I initially realized. She started having nightmares, waking up screaming that her skin was burning. She refused to drink hot beverages and flinched whenever someone moved too quickly near her. When my mother called to invite us to Sunday dinner, as if nothing had happened, Lily overheard and had a panic attack. "I can't see them, Mom," she sobbed. "Grandma said I deserved it, and Aunt Audrey might hurt me again." I held my trembling daughter and made an appointment with a therapist the same day. Dr. Melissa Carson specialized in childhood trauma and immediately connected with Lily. After their third session, she asked to speak with me privately. "Lily is showing signs of acute stress response," she explained. "She's terrified of your sister, but almost more concerned about your parents' reaction. She told me she feels invisible to them. They've always favored my sister, I admitted. I never wanted Lily to feel that. Have you considered that what you experienced growing up might also qualify as emotional abuse? Her question caught me off guard. I was never hurt physically. Emotional neglect and favoritism can be deeply damaging too, she said gently. Perhaps you might benefit from some sessions as well. I began therapy reluctantly, expecting to focus on supporting Lily. Instead, I found myself unpacking a lifetime of normalized dysfunction. I realized how much energy I'd spent managing my sister's emotions, seeking my parents' approval, and maintaining an illusion of family harmony that never truly existed. Meanwhile, our support network rallied around us. Jack's parents drove up from Pennsylvania to stay for 2 weeks, bringing home cooked meals and genuine grandparental love. My colleagues covered my classes when I needed to take Lily to therapy. Friends checked in regularly, expressing appropriate outrage when I finally shared what had happened. The contrast between this healthy support and my birth family's reaction couldn't have been starker. My parents called less frequently, and when they did, they avoided mentioning the incident entirely. Instead, they talked about Audrey's new job prospect or their upcoming anniversary cruise. Then came the day Lily came running to my classroom after school, shaking uncontrollably. Aunt Audrey was at school, she gasped. She tried to get me to go with her for ice cream. She said you said it was okay. I immediately called the school office. Yes, Audrey had come claiming to be authorized to pick up Lily. Thankfully, she wasn't on the approved list, and the office staff had refused. According to the secretary, Audrey had made a scene, claiming it was ridiculous family drama keeping her from her niece. That evening, I received a group text from my mother. Booking family vacation to Myrtle Beach for July. Need to know if you, Jack and Lily, want oceanfront or Bayview rooms. Audrey's coming too, so time for everyone to put the past behind us and be family again. I showed the message to Jack, who laughed incredulously. Are they serious? They think we're going to vacation with the woman who assaulted our daughter? Who tried to remove her from school without permission? They've always expected me to get over things, I said. To be the bigger person. What does that even mean in this case? To let Lily be traumatized for the sake of their comfort? Jack called my father directly, something he rarely did. I could hear only Jack's side of the conversation, but it was enough. No, Walter, we will not be joining you. Because your other daughter threw boiling liquid at our child, and you defended her. No, this isn't Blaine being dramatic. Actually, the doctor called it assault. I don't care what you call it. Jack's face darkened. What did you just say to me? A pause. I see. Well, let me be clear. I may not be real family in your eyes, but I'm the one who's protecting Lily while you enable her abuser. He hung up, his hands shaking with rage. Your father says I should stay out of it because I'm not really family and don't understand how sisters are. Something inside me hardened. My family would never change. They would continue enabling Audrey, dismissing harm, and expecting me to accommodate their dysfunction forever. The pattern would continue with Lily unless I broke it decisively. The final straw came in the form of a manila envelope. My friend Tara, a lawyer specializing in family law, had helped me request documents related to my parents' business, a property management company where I was listed as a minority partner, mostly for tax purposes. Blaine, I found something concerning, Tara said, pointing to a series of transactions. These consulting fees paid to AW Solutions? That's Audrey's company, right? I nodded. They've been paying her almost $75,000 annually for unspecified consulting work. There's no evidence she actually provides any services. That's their business, I started to say. No, it's your business too. You're a listed partner. If this is a way to funnel money to her while avoiding proper taxation, you could be liable. Especially since some of these checks have your digital signature on them. I felt the blood drain from my face. I never signed anything. Someone did, using the authorization on file. If there's an audit, you'll be answering questions too. I left Tara's office with a clarity I'd never experienced before. My parents hadn't just emotionally damaged my daughter and me, they'd potentially made me complicit in financial fraud. All to benefit Audrey. This wasn't just about standing up for myself anymore. This was about legal and financial protection for my family, for Lily's future, and perhaps, finally, about making my birth family face the consequences of their actions. Over the next week, I built my case methodically. With Tara's help, I gathered financial documents showing the pattern of diverting funds to Audrey. I documented the assault on Lily with medical records, photographs, and therapy notes. I started recording phone conversations with my parents and Audrey, capturing their dismissive attitudes and occasional threats. Your focus shouldn't necessarily be criminal charges, Tara advised. That's an option, but sometimes the threat of financial consequences is more effective with people like your parents. I had mixed feelings about this approach. Part of me wanted justice for Lily in the most official sense. Another part shrank from the publicity of a court case and the additional trauma it might cause her. What are our options? I asked. We can request a full audit of the business, which would expose the questionable payments to Audrey. We can file for an injunction preventing Audrey from coming near Lily. And we can send a demand letter outlining the terms under which you're willing not to pursue these actions. It feels like blackmail, I said uneasily. It's not, Tara assured me. It's leverage. You're not asking for anything you're not entitled to. You just want your daughter protected and your financial interests secured. After careful consideration, I agreed to her plan. Tara drafted a formal letter outlining our concerns about the business practices and the assault on Lily. It requested a meeting to discuss terms, including therapy for all parties, financial transparency, and formal acknowledgement of the harm done. I delivered the letter to my parents personally, wanting to see their reactions. Mom skimmed it and immediately went on the offensive. This is how you treat family? With lawyers and threats? I raised you better than this. Actually, you raised me to take whatever Audrey dished out and never complain, I replied calmly. I'm breaking that pattern. Dad read the letter more carefully, his face darkening when he reached the section about business practices. This is preposterous. I've run this company for 30 years without issue. The IRS might disagree. You'd really do this to your own family? He demanded. Report us? Create a public scandal? You didn't seem concerned about family when Lily was screaming in pain. Mom began crying, her go-to tactic when confronted. We've given you everything, Blaine. A good home, education, you're part of the business. And then you systematically drained my trust fund to give to Audrey and used my name to funnel company money to her, I said. Did you think I'd never find out? Dad's expression shifted from anger to calculation. What do you want? Money? Is that it? I want what's in the letter. Therapy for everyone, including Audrey. A formal apology to Lily. And Audrey moves out of your house and supports herself like an adult. Ridiculous, Dad scoffed. Audrey needs our support. She's sensitive. She's 30 years old and assaulted a child, I reminded him. Her sensitivity doesn't excuse that. They refused to agree to anything that day, insisting they needed to consult their own lawyer. I left feeling simultaneously empowered and exhausted. For the first time in my life, I had stood my ground with them without backing down. The next phase unfolded quickly. My parents' lawyer contacted Tara, attempting to intimidate her with vague threats about family privacy. When that failed, they offered financial settlement $50,000 if I would put this unfortunate incident behind us. I declined. Meanwhile, I continued building my case. While organizing old family photos for potential evidence, Jack found a box of unlabeled VHS tapes in the attic. Curious, we had them digitized. They were home movies from my childhood, filmed by my uncle who had lived with us briefly when I was 14. I watched with growing unease as the videos captured exactly what I remembered but had begun to doubt. Audrey's explosive tantrums, my parents' enabling, their dismissal of my feelings. One video in particular stood out. In it, 16-year-old me sat at the piano practicing for a recital. 12-year-old Audrey wanted to watch TV in the same room. When I asked for 30 more minutes to practice, she unplugged the electric piano and shoved it, causing it to fall and crack. When I protested, she grabbed a heavy music book and threw it, hitting me in the face and giving me a bloody nose. What happened next confirmed everything. Mom rushed in, ignored my bleeding face, and comforted Audrey, who was crying, that I never let her have any fun. Dad entered, surveyed the scene, and told me to clean up my blood before it stained the carpet. The video provided something therapy had been trying to give me external validation that my memories were accurate. I hadn't exaggerated or misremembered the dysfunction. It was all real, all documented, and all worse than even I had allowed myself to believe. Armed with this new evidence, I felt more certain than ever. This wasn't about revenge. It was about breaking a generational pattern of abuse and enabling before it could affect Lily any further. Tara sent copies of selected videos to my parents with a note. These provide context for our discussion. Blaine is prepared to move forward with audit requests and restraining orders by Friday if we haven't reached an agreement. Their response came within hours, a furious call from my father. "You're really playing hardball, aren't you?" he growled. "Digging up ancient history to make yourself look good." "It's not ancient to me, Dad. And now I see the same patterns with Lily." "We're prepared to make a counter-offer," he said, changing tactics. $100,000. You sign an NDA. We all move on. "This isn't about money," I said firmly. "It's about behavior, about acknowledgement and change. People don't change at our age, Blaine." "Then I guess we'll be proceeding with the audit." After I hung up, Audrey called, alternating between threats and tears. "You've always been jealous of me," she accused. "Always wanted what I had." "What exactly did you have that I wanted, Audrey? The tantrums? The failed relationships? The inability to support yourself at 30? "I have Mom and Dad's love," she said viciously. "Something you've never had." Her words stung because they contained a kernel of truth. I had never had their unconditional love and support, but I had something better the family Jack and I had built, based on respect and genuine care. "You can keep it," I said quietly. "I've made my own family." The next morning, I discovered my car windows smashed, the word "bitch" keyed into the paint. The police officer who took the report asked if I had any idea who might have done it. "My sister," I said without hesitation. "She's escalating because I'm holding her accountable for assaulting my daughter." The officer's eyebrows rose. "That's a serious allegation. Would you like to file a report about the assault as well?" It was time to use every tool available. "Yes," I said firmly. "I would." The legal machinery moved slowly, but inexorably. The police took statements about both the vandalism and Lily's assault. The business audit began revealing even more financial irregularities. Credit card companies started calling my parents about Audrey's accounts where they were listed as guarantors. The pressure was building, but my family remained stubbornly resistant to my terms. They hired an expensive lawyer who specialized in making problems disappear. He arranged a meeting at his plush downtown office, clearly intended to intimidate Tara and me. "My clients are prepared to address your concerns," he said smoothly. "They'll establish a new trust fund for your daughter in the amount of $200,000, payable when she turns 21. In exchange, you'll withdraw all complaints and agree to confidentiality." Tara smiled thinly. "My client isn't interested in buying her silence. She wants behavioral change and acknowledgement of harm." "Mrs. Reynolds," the lawyer said, turning to me, "family disputes are messy, courts are messier. Wouldn't it be better for everyone, especially your daughter, to resolve this privately?" "That's exactly what I've been trying to do," I replied. "But resolution requires acknowledgement and change, not just money." We left without an agreement, but I could sense the momentum shifting. My parents were used to making problems disappear with money. When that failed, they seemed genuinely unsure what to do next. Word of the conflict began spreading through our extended family. Most relatives maintained a diplomatic distance, unwilling to take sides explicitly. But my cousin Rachel, who had always been close to Audrey, surprised me with a call. "I need to tell you something," she said hesitantly. "About Audrey." "What is it?" "When I was 14, at the lake house, Audrey got mad because I was wearing her sunglasses. She pushed me off the dock. I hit my head on the boat and needed 6 stitches. I remembered the incident vaguely. Rachel had slipped, according to the family story. "Aunt Sandra and Uncle Walter made my parents agree to say it was an accident," Rachel continued. "Dad didn't want to, but they paid my hospital bills and gave them money for my college fund." "Why are you telling me this now?" I asked. "Because when I saw Lily at Christmas, she reminded me of myself at that age. Smart, sensitive, a pleaser. I don't want her growing up thinking it's normal for family to hurt you and then pretend it didn't happen." After Rachel's call, 2 other relatives came forward with similar stories. A pattern emerged of Audrey's violence being covered up, excused, or reframed as accidents over many years. I shared these new accounts with the therapist, trying to process my guilt for not protecting Lily sooner. "I should have seen this coming. There were so many warning signs." "Blaine," she said gently, "you've been conditioned since childhood to normalize your sister's behavior and your parents' enabling. Breaking free of that programming takes tremendous courage." Meanwhile, the pressure on my parents continued mounting. The preliminary business audit raised enough red flags that their accountant advised immediate action. Their lawyer began making increasingly generous financial offers, all of which I declined. Then came an unexpected development. My father called late one evening, his voice strained. "I'm at Burlington Medical Center. Had some chest pains. They're keeping me overnight. Is it serious?" I asked. Immediate concern overriding our conflict. "Just stress," they say. "Blood pressure through the roof." He paused. "Your mother's pretty upset. Blames all this legal business." The implication was clear. My actions were literally breaking my father's heart. The old guilt reflexively surged through me, the programmed response to take responsibility for others' emotions. Jack saw my face after I hung up. "Let me guess. Your dad's health issues are somehow your fault? He's in the hospital with chest pains." "Convenient timing," Jack observed, then softened at my expression. "I'm sorry, that was harsh. Of course you're concerned. But please don't let this manipulate you into backing down." I spent a sleepless night weighing my options. Was I being too harsh? Was family peace worth more than principle? By morning, I'd made my decision. I would visit my father but maintain my position. At the hospital, I found both Mom and Audrey in the room, their expressions hardening when I entered. "Well, look who's here," Mom said bitterly. "Come to see what you've done?" I refused to accept the blame. "I came because I care about Dad's health. The doctor said it was mild angina, not a heart attack. He'll be discharged today." Dad looked smaller somehow in the hospital bed. "This whole situation has gotten out of hand, Blaine." "Over what? A family squabble?" "It wasn't a squabble. Audrey assaulted Lily. You both defended her. And now we've uncovered years of financial manipulation on top of emotional abuse." Audrey rolled her eyes. Always the drama queen. I turned to her. "You threw boiling tea at a 12-year-old, Audrey. Then vandalized my car when I called you on it. That's not drama, that's criminal behavior." Dad sighed heavily. "What will it take to end this? Really end it? No more lawyers, no more threats." For the first time, I sensed genuine willingness to negotiate. The same terms I've been asking for all along. Therapy for everyone. A sincere apology to Lily. Audrey moves out and supports herself. Financial transparency and correction of the trust fund imbalance. "And if we agree?" Mom asked cautiously. "Then we work on rebuilding our relationship with clear boundaries. I'm not trying to destroy this family. I'm trying to make it healthier." Dad closed his eyes briefly. "Let me talk to your mother and sister privately. We'll call you later." I left feeling cautiously hopeful. Dad's health scare, while not life-threatening, seemed to have created a shift in perspective. Perhaps they were finally ready to acknowledge the dysfunction that had defined our family for so long. The call came that evening. My parents and Audrey had discussed my terms and were prepared to agree with some modifications. They wanted family therapy rather than individual sessions. They would equalize the trust funds, but needed time to adjust the business practices. Most surprisingly, Audrey had agreed to move to her own apartment and look for full-time work. "And the apology to Lily?" I pressed. "Yes," Dad said, sounding tired. "We understand that's non-negotiable." We arranged a formal meeting with both lawyers to document the agreement. Part of me remained skeptical they had promised change before, but something felt different this time. Perhaps it was the combination of legal, financial, and health pressures. Or perhaps, finally, They understood that I would no longer participate in the family dysfunction, regardless of the cost. As we signed the documents, I felt a weight lifting not because everything was magically fixed, but because for the first time, I had stood firm in protecting Lily and myself. Whatever happened next, the old patterns had been broken. The rebuilding process began cautiously. The first family therapy session was tense and awkward, with my parents clearly uncomfortable discussing family dynamics with an outsider. Audrey fluctuated between defensiveness and tearful apologies that seemed performative rather than genuine. Dr. Martinez, the family therapist, skillfully navigated these reactions. "Change isn't linear," she reminded me privately after a particularly difficult session. "There will be progress and backsliding. The important thing is that everyone is here." Meanwhile, Audrey moved into her own apartment and, with the help of a career counselor I connected her with, found an administrative position at a local marketing firm. The structure seemed good for her, though she complained constantly about the boring work and annoying boss. My parents began their own individual therapy as well, which produced unexpected revelations. Mom called me after her third session, her voice uncharacteristically hesitant. "The therapist asked about my own childhood today," she said. "I never really talked about my father's temper before." It was the first hint I'd ever had that Mom's enabling of Audrey might have roots in her own experience of family dysfunction. Not an excuse, but a context that helped me view her with more compassion. The most crucial moment came 2 months after our agreement, when we arranged for my parents and Audrey to apologize to Lily. I prepared my daughter carefully, emphasizing that she could leave the room at any time and didn't have to accept any apology that didn't feel sincere. We met on neutral ground, a private room at Dr. Martinez's office. Lily sat between Jack and me, her body language tense but determined. She had chosen to wear a short-sleeved shirt, the faint remaining scar from the burn visible on her forearm. Whether conscious or not, it was a powerful reminder of why we were there. Audrey spoke first, clearly having rehearsed. "Lily, I want to apologize for hurting you. I lost control of my temper and did something inexcusable. The tea was meant to scare you, not burn you, but that doesn't matter because I shouldn't have thrown anything at all." Lily listened silently, her face impassive. "I'm working on my anger issues in therapy," Audrey continued. "I'm learning that my feelings aren't anyone else's responsibility. I'm sorry I blamed you and that I tried to come to your school afterwards. It was wrong." My mother went next. "Lily, I owe you an apology too. When you were hurt, I should have been concerned about you, not defending Audrey. What I said was cruel and unfair. You didn't deserve to be hurt, and you certainly didn't deserve to have your grandmother suggest otherwise." Dad's apology was briefer, but seemed the most difficult for him. "I've never been good at admitting when I'm wrong," he said gruffly. "But I was wrong that day. Wrong to laugh it off. Wrong to minimize your pain. A grandfather should protect his granddaughter, not dismiss her suffering." "I'm sorry, Lily." Lily considered their words carefully before responding. "Thank you for apologizing," she said formally. "I accept that you're trying to do better. But I'm still not comfortable being alone with any of you right now." "That's completely understandable," Dr. Martinez affirmed. "Building trust takes time." Over the following months, we established careful boundaries for family interaction. Lily would see her grandparents and aunt only in supervised settings. Any raising of voices or signs of Audrey's temper meant the visit ended immediately. My parents, to their credit, respected these terms without complaint. The financial agreements progressed as well. The trust funds were equalized, with documentation preventing future manipulation. The business practices were corrected, with proper accounting for any consulting work Audrey actually performed. My parents even surprised me by transferring a small rental property into my name as a tangible acknowledgement of past financial inequity. 6 months after the formal apologies, we attempted our first family dinner. We held it at a restaurant rather than anyone's home, keeping the pressure low and escape routes clear. To my amazement, the evening passed pleasantly. Conversation remained somewhat surface level, but no tensions erupted. Lily even laughed at a joke Audrey made about her new boss. In the car afterward, Jack squeezed my hand. "Progress," he said simply. The real test came during the holidays. After much discussion, we agreed to spend Christmas Eve at my parents' house, our first extended family gathering since the incident. I was nervous, but Lily herself pushed for it. "I want to try, Mom," she said. "Dr. Carson says avoiding forever isn't healing." We arrived with clear time boundaries and a separate car in case we needed to leave quickly. To my surprise, my parents had made thoughtful efforts. The house was decorated beautifully. Lily's favorite foods were prepared. Audrey had bought her an age-appropriate, thoughtful gift, rather than something showy or inappropriate. Most touchingly, my father had created a photo album chronicling Lily's activities from the past year: dance recitals, school events, everyday moments I hadn't even realized he'd been paying attention to. It showed an investment in knowing his granddaughter as an individual that had been missing before. After dinner, Audrey approached me while the others were admiring the tree. "Can we talk for a minute?" We stepped into the kitchen, and I noticed she seemed genuinely nervous. "I've been working through some things in therapy," she began haltingly, "about why I get so angry, especially with you and Lily." I waited, trying to keep my expression open. "The therapist thinks I've been jealous of your relationship with Lily," she continued, "because it's so different from how Mom was with us. You're so present with her, interested in her as a person, not just as an extension of yourself." It was perhaps the most insightful thing I'd ever heard Audrey say. "And I'm starting to see how Mom and Dad set us against each other," she added. "Always comparing, always creating competition. I'm not excusing what I did, nothing excuses that. But I'm trying to understand it so I don't repeat it." "Thank you for telling me this," I said, genuinely moved. "That can't have been easy." "Nothing about this year has been easy," Audrey said with a rueful smile. "But may be necessary." 1 year after the tea incident, we gathered for a lakeside picnic to celebrate Dad's birthday. The atmosphere was relaxed in a way I couldn't remember family gatherings ever being before. Lily and Audrey played cornhole together, laughing without tension. Mom helped me prepare the food without criticizing my techniques. Dad actually asked Jack about his architectural projects with genuine interest. As I watched my daughter confidently interacting with the family members who had once hurt her so deeply, I felt a profound mix of emotions: pride in her resilience, gratitude for the progress we'd made, and a quiet recognition that sometimes the most loving thing we can do for family is to demand better from them. Later, as Jack and I sat on the dock watching the sunset, he put his arm around me. "You know what I was just thinking? A year ago, I couldn't have imagined us all here like this." "Me neither," I admitted. "I thought I'd either have to keep accepting the dysfunction or cut them off completely. I never considered there might be a third option." "Standing your ground and demanding change," Jack said. "It was brave." I thought about the journey of the past year, the pain, the confrontations, the slow rebuilding of trust with clear boundaries. It hadn't been easy. The old dynamics still surfaced occasionally, requiring immediate correction. But the fundamental shift was undeniable. My parents were learning to respect boundaries. Audrey was taking responsibility for her actions. And most importantly, Lily was learning that she deserved to be treated with care and respect by everyone, especially family. "The funny thing is," I said, watching my daughter laugh as she skipped stones across the water's surface, "I always thought making them face consequences would destroy our family. But it actually gave us a chance at being a real one for the first time." Sometimes love means making difficult choices. Sometimes it means standing up for yourself and those who depend on you, even when it feels easier to keep the peace. And sometimes it means being brave enough to believe that people can change when given no other option. Have you ever had to stand up to family members who crossed important boundaries? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. If you found this story meaningful, please like and subscribe for more content about family dynamics, setting boundaries, and personal growth. Share with someone who might need encouragement to stand firm in protecting themselves or their children. Thank you for listening, and remember that you deserve relationships built on mutual respect and care.